boys and girls, secondary students of Dhamma classes, parents, grandparents, and teachers of Dhamma classes. May you all be well and peaceful. Now we are going to have a presentation involving a story, and then after that, life lessons from the story that we can learn. The title of the story is The Shipwreck. It is a short story, but it is a story with good life lessons and Dhamma that we can learn. So as usual, I will show you the PowerPoint and then go over with you the story. And then in conclusion, we will go over important Dhamma messages and points and life lessons. So now let us show the PowerPoint. Now you see the first slide. Now I think you don't have to see my photo, so we can stop the video. Okay, so the shipwreck. Now, what is the meaning of shipwreck? Now, you know, ships sail on the seas, the oceans, and sometimes, you know, there are storms or the ships may hit against rocks and then they begin to sink. And many people can die and there is a ship being destroyed. That is a shipwreck. So a shipwreck is a destruction of a ship by sinking because of a storm or hitting against a rock and then the ship sinks and many lives are lost. I think you have heard of the famous Titanic, right? So this story is about the shipwreck. Okay, now of course you can see the animation, the birds and the ship. You know, after sinking, you know, they may be washed to the shore, but by then water has entered and destroyed a lot of things and lives have been lost already. See, so let us see what this story is about. And you have some of the birds. This is the place, an island. Right. So let us go on. This is another of the cover slide for the title. Now this is just an animation clip that shows you what a storm is. And you see this ship, wow, you know, struggling in the huge waves and the storm, and very dangerous. It can sink, you know. And when it sinks, then you see the shipwreck has taken place. There's a shipwreck, right? So let us move on to the story. Washed up on a deserted island was Jack. He was the only survivor of a shipwreck. Now, this story is written in a poetic form, like like a poem, where you have the words rhyme in the two sentences, Jack, wreck, and then also you find that they have the same number of syllables, so they read very, very nice. All right, it's nice to read them. Now, so this person was one of the passengers in a ship, the high seas, and what happened was a storm took place. There was a very, very bad storm, and the ship began to sink. You know, when you have a storm, there's heavy rain, and the water would get in. And then people will be in a stampede, will scream and so on. So some are may be able to get into some safe, what they call it, life saving boats, depending on the ship, you see. But anyway, what is important is this important line. So all in the ship died except this person by the name of Jack, the only one who survived. Deserted island means an island where nobody stays. You might have some animals or plants, but no human beings. So it's a deserted island somewhere in the middle of the ocean or the sea or whatever. You see, now here you have the ship sinking, all screaming. This is a video clip that will help. So Then you might wonder, wow, this person is very lucky to be able to live and survive. Others are died. Then you might wonder, why is it like this? Is it that God chose him? But when we explain it in Buddhism, we say it's probably due to his karma, right? The karma will decide, right? Some people have short lives. Some people, they're able to escape very dangerous situations and survive. So they may have longer lives. This one is the operation of karma, not a God that decides, okay, this person, that person. It's not like that in our Buddhist terms, right? So let us go on to the next part. On the island, Jack was fearful and lonely. For a rescue, he prayed so feverishly. Now, of course, he was the only person in this island. So he was very, very scared, isn't it? Of course, maybe he could get some fruits or some vegetables, eatable things, and water probably. This one, if it's a sea water will be a problem. But probably in the island there, he might be able to find some ponds, or, certain streams or whatever, to get the clean water. Otherwise, you cannot drink the seawater or the ocean water, saltish. You cannot, you see. And of course, if it rains, then you can somehow other collect the water. Maybe could salvage certain belongings, containers, or even if the coconut falls, then you might be able to get some coconuts. But anyway, this is a tropical situation. So it was very, very lonely, being alone. So, when people are very scared, right? So what do? They start praying, praying to the gods, right? They are gods. So he might be of another religion, so he pray to his God feverishly, means very, very conscientiously, very, very hard, he prayed very, very seriously, with all his effort, you see. So could he be rescued? Could a boat or a ship come to rescue him? This being an isolated island, far away from civilization, maybe, right? So not many people would come here, hardly anybody. If a ship were to sail near, they might not be able to see him also, isn't it? So the chances seem to be very, very small. So let's see what happens. So Jack, every day, he would go to the beach, right? By the edge of the sea, and then he would scan the horizon. Scan the horizon. You know what is the horizon? Let's say a person would stand at the edge of the beach. We find that the waters are here, and then you have the sandy beach. Then he would scan. This is the horizon, a distance away, a very quite straight line like this, horizon. And sometimes when you see the sun rising in the horizon, it's very beautiful. And likewise, also when the sun sets in the horizon far away, sun sets in the west and it rises in the east. So every day, he would look out as far as he could to see whether there was a ship or not. Of course, not very difficult, isn't it? Right? So sadly, no one seemed to come his way. Isolated, he was the only person. So, wow, he thought that, he might die, matter of time, right? A few weeks and so on. So what to do? Well, so he had to try to stay calm and positive and try to survive, and then hope that a ship or maybe a boat or whatever will come with people to rescue him, right? So tired, right? He had to search for the food, and then do some basic things. So he was tired, especially when he had no house. So he decided to build a hut of wood. So he gathered the maybe the branches or the wood and so on. So of course it's just a hut of wood. This would protect him against the rain and the sun, isn't it? Right? And then also you would collect some food, as I told you, from maybe the forest area, the greenery area. You might get some fruits, wild fruits or whatever, right? And then store the food in the house. Otherwise, they may be spoiled by the rain or the sun, you see. You can see the picture here. You see something like This hard, you have the straw, the dry leaves of trees and so on. And then this person, he just make a door that is very, very simple. So just a little animation to give you an idea to feel the story. All right. So let us. So one day, Jack went out searching for food and a drink. As I told you, very important, isn't it? Food and drinks. Where did he go? He couldn't go out into the sea, so it will be just nearby where you have the, maybe the small forests or the, green areas where you have trees and plants lah. After collecting some food and some drinks, water, he found that his little heart was burning. There must be a reason. So many possibilities, but one likely reason is probably he forgot to put out the fire. Maybe he started a small fire to cook some of the things. Maybe he got some wild animals, I wouldn't know, right? So there was some fire. So maybe he didn't extinguish or put it off and it caught fire. So the heart started burning, the little heart, right? So what happened? You could see, so terrible. The whole heart will be destroyed. But of course, luckily it was not inside. At night, if you're inside, you might be burned to death. So the smoke from the fire was rolling up the sky. Poor Jack. You saw the little heart that he built with so much energy and strength, now destroyed by the fire. He was so shocked, he was stunned, he's shocked. He was so shocked and he started to cry, to weep, right? So one lonely person in the island, isn't it? Then everything was lost in this tragedy. Probably most he couldn't salvage his belongings also. Just the clothes that he was wearing. And then the food inside Stockland's already gone lah. So he had to find more food, right? So only just like this, all destroyed. See, so Jack wailed. Wail means to cry very, very hard, to weep, in a very, very sad, sorrowful state lah. Then he started to more or less like to scold God lah. You see, he got angry, Then he said, God, how could you do this to me? Already, I was stuck in this island. I'm stuck in this island, marooned already in this island. And now you have caused my heart to burn. Actually, I mean, we might be thinking that God could protect lah. But actually, in the Buddhist way, we don't say that, it is due to God and God has control. There are reasons, causes and conditions. Maybe as I said, it could be a small fire that was not put out when he left the place, right? There are very likely reason lah. Or maybe he could have, I don't know, he could have some candles also. So many possibilities, right? A natural cause due to carelessness and maybe a lack of mindfulness also possible. But then he blamed God that God did not protect him. So everything was lost in this malapetaka. It's considered a tragedy, isn't it? So what happened? Wow, that cold night, he had no heart to stay in already, to sleep. So what could he do? He had to sleep on the beach, by the sea, right? So he had to pass the night in coldness, because as I told you just now, all his belongings, whatever he could take from the ship when he was able to get into the island, probably he could cling on to certain bags of him, possible. But anyway, everything was lost, right? So he had to sleep on the beach by the sea, under the sky. And then he didn't have blankets or any extra clothing to keep him warm. So he was real suffering. So next day when he got up, wow, he was so surprised, that a ship came by unexpectedly. Out of the blues, a ship came, Very strange, isn't it? So long, maybe some days passed already, no sign of any help or any ship or boat. But now, the heart got burned already. and he slept on the beach. The following morning when he got up, surprisingly a ship came. Of course, there were people in the ship lah. Wow, I tell you, I was so happy, right? So the people, of course, saw him. He was on the beach, and then they rescued him, lah. Of course, put him into the ship. So he was very surprised. So Jack asked his rescuers, you see, how come you knew I was here? For so many days, this being an isolated island, no ship came nearby, no boat, nobody came near. But now a ship with all of you, there were maybe a few of the rescuers came. Then you know what the rescuers said? At the distance away, we actually did not want to come nearer already. Right? We did not want to come to the island already, but we saw the smoke signal, because the hut was burning, right? So a lot of smoke came out from the burning hut, right? So you find it was a big fire. So a lot of the smoke, and at the distance also, they could see the smoke. So they were wondering, oh, something must be happening now. Something is gone. So that's how the ship came, right? Because of the smoke signal. So they explained to him, wow, this Jack was so grateful. And then he learned very important life lessons, right? So let us study the life lessons and reflect. So that is basically the gist of the story. Not difficult to understand, isn't it? And you can read, they are very poetic lines. Jack asked his rescuers, how come you knew I was here? The rescuers said, we saw your smoke signal, my dear. Dear, here. So rhyming. So I hope you understand. So now when we think of this, was the burning of the heart a tragedy, a blessing? Can you really tell? But because the fire took place, the heart burned, then the rescuers came, isn't it? So if there were, there was no fire to cause this terrible smoke, to give a signal to a distant ship of people, then he would not be rescued. So, but he didn't think about that. So he just, like scolded God, the causing the heart, or didn't protect his heart that he built, right? But in the end, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. What you think is something terrible happening because the heart got burned down, but then in the end, that was a thing that saved his life, isn't it? The smoke from the fire of the burning heart was the thing that caused the rescuers to come in their ship. So from here, you learn a very important Dhamma point, right? Good, bad, who knows? Things you think are hopeless and down may turn out well, right? Now you can see this situation, maybe the family had a misfortune, very sad, certain poverty and so on. But they did not blame God and so on. And if they know some Dhamma, they will say, oh, this might be due to the past karma, but karma is not fixed. We can change. So they start to work hard, right? And life can begin anew, and they can become successful later on also, isn't it? Just like this case. Let's say this particular student, he thought that he had a miserable life. His parents always asked him to study, do the homework. The family was quite poor. So his life was quite hard, you see. So he thought that the studying all this are causing him a lot of dukkha, suffering, right? But the parents encouraged him and he carried on. So in the end, he was so successful, he became a university graduate, isn't it? So studying everything with the suffering and hard work, good, bad. In this case, he can become very good in the end. And usually it's like that, you see. This is just one example of studying. You have many other cases. Something comes, you must accept it. And this we will study in the next slide. And you can learn important life lessons and Dharma as well. Some connection with the story. I started the presentation with a story, isn't it? It's easier to learn the life lesson and Dharma because you can remember the story much better, isn't it? So let us look. Now we come to this very important last slide. That's the most important thing of the presentation. The story is just to support it, right? Now, of course, firstly, the picture just to show you that there's this island, the ship was already spoiled already, sank already, and then somehow, I don't know how it drifted, somehow the waters will drift it to the beach lah. Anyway, that's just a picture. Now we have two teachers, a man and a lady, to teach you some life lessons, right? And you can say also Dhamma, right? Dhamma is actually a life lessons. Life lessons are important things. Let's look at the first one. In life, happenings, both pleasant and unpleasant, can happen, isn't it? Things are sad, happy, right? Painful and very pleasant can happen. This is what we call a fact of life. Sometimes you have pain, but sometimes you feel very happy, isn't it? So we have to learn to accept the things peacefully. And remember that all will pass. Whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, they are impermanent, so they will go by. So you have to be patient. And if you can do something, then of course you try to do the thing to help it to improve, right? Like for example, let's say your house area gets flooded, everything, that's terrible, isn't it? Right? So it's the force of nature, let us say. But you can maybe build certain barns, like what we did when we were children, so that the water would not get into the kitchen area or the rooms, because we build the barns using the mud, at the doorway to prevent. So you could do something, but this will pass, you see. So after that, the flood will go. So some years later, maybe the government, they build certain what they call it, bands along the river banks, so that the water, even is high tide, would not come into the land. So you have to accept and be positive, isn't it? Where some people, good things, smile, everything, but unpleasant things come, they cannot accept. That is not wisdom, right? So this is a very important thing for you. So as a student also, you find sometimes you succeed very well. Wow, you get very high marks. Sometimes you maybe get very low marks or you fail. And then you have to find out the reasons, right? Find out the reason. Is it because I studied the wrong way, or because I did not put in enough effort? Then you take steps to remedy that. Then next time, you will get very good results, isn't it? Everything will pass, right? Where some people, right, they don't know this. Wow, like some university students, so when the results are good, wow, they can accept very happily, But when results are bad, they are so sorrowful, right? So frustrated, some commit suicide. You see that is wrong. It's very sad, isn't it? So that's why it's very important, right, to learn the Dhamma. Two things can happen, one positive or negative. That everybody experiences that. Sometimes people praise you. Wow, you're such a good boy or girl, right? You've done this so well. Sometimes they say, oh, you terrible fella. We blame you because you do something wrong. When people praise you, you accept very happily. When people blame you, wow, you feel terrible already. Some will, do something foolish also, right? So I feel very sad, cannot sleep, cannot eat for so many days. What you should do is, praise, blame, they come. When people blame me, I look and see, think and see, is it my fault or not? If it's my fault, I apologize, ask for forgiveness, then I will improve next time. Then my mind will be peaceful, isn't it? So that is the way. So now let us look at the next one. Things happen according to causes and conditions. Nothing ever happens by just chance. And in Dhamma terms, or when we learn the Dhamma, we cannot say that anything that happens is due to God making it happen. Because if that's the case, then you find it very difficult for us to explain why is it some people who are so good and yet they get cancer they meet with terrible accidents or they become paralyzed because of an accident. They're so good. Why? So it's not the God. You don't blame the God. You don't blame the parents. There must be some causes. And when the conditions are there, these results come. And for such cases, it could be due to what they call a past karma. That means we had lived before. So in previous lives, we maybe because of ignorance, not knowing, we had done something not very wholesome or proper, wrong things lah. Right? For example, right, killing a lot of animals and so on, because you didn't know that was wrong. So then after that, when rebirth takes place, well, you always you see that how come I always get this sickness and pains and so on. And some have short lives. Some children also die when they are very young, isn't it? Is it the God? It's very unfair, isn't it? Right? To say that the children should be killed off or should die because they are not have not done anything bad in this life also. They're so young, they also don't know. Babies also some die. So you got the connection with the past. To me, that is a very logical thing, right? So very important you understand this, then you begin to accept. And your mind will not be negative, blame this, blame that, right? Be positive. And then also, as this story tells you very clearly, what is Dhamma? What is considered bad? Are you sure it's bad? In the end, it may turn out to be good. Just as the case, isn't it? The heart burning, I think everybody, you might think that it's terrible, it's a very sad thing, right? But he did not die, he survived, he went out, isn't it? Right? But in the end, because of that, he was saved. So it turned out to be good. And there are many, many stories also. I think last time I did post one story about the Titanic sinking, I don't know whether you remember about this family in Scotland, and this family wanted to migrate over to US. So they worked very hard. The Clark family, I think a family of 7 or 9 parents and children, something like that, right? So they were farmers. So they worked very hard and then save a lot of money to book the tickets, right? At that time, they didn't have the plane to fly. So they had to go on the huge ship, right? To sail from Britain, that's Scotland, into America. They say that America, the land of milk and honey, a lot of opportunities, right? So they were all very excited, looking forward to the trip to go to America. But just, I think it was just a few days only, before the ship was supposed to sail. They already packed everything, wanted to go already. The youngest son got bitten by a dog, just some days before, And that time, there was this very dangerous disease called rabies, And these rabies are caused by certain dogs that are infected, and when these dogs bite you, you can get that. So you have to take steps like quarantine, right? And then to treat. It can be cured, right? But you must not, they won't allow you to go and mix with other people. You spread the thing to other people, just like now what you have for the COVID-19, you see. So cannot go really, How to go? Because to go to the ship, there'll be so many other people, and your son, Mr. Clark's son, is so sick. Wow, he felt so disappointed, He started to blame the God, blame the son, everything, because of God, and because the son, why am I going to get get these rabies through the dog biting him, so unfortunate, this and that. It was very, very miserable. So when the day came for the ship to sail away, so he and maybe the wife and a few others, of course the sick son got to be quarantined. The doctor would treat the son. So he was very sad, and then see the ship sail without the family. But then, just not long later, maybe a few days only, the news came, and the news broke all over Scotland, the ship sank. And it was the Titanic, the first voyage of Titanic. So many people were killed and died, Wow, this Mr. Clark, say, luckily we were not at the ship. If they were at the ship, probably whole family might die. Not many survivors. Quite a number died. Because the Titanic hit the rock and sank. There was a movie, you can see that also. So good, bad, who knows? So the son being bitten by a dog turned out to be something lucky, good, isn't it? So when you know these stories, you know anything that happens, I accept it. We don't know what's going to happen in the end, isn't it? Very good story, That is a Titanic story. Then this one is also is a very important Dhamma teaching. In dealing with challenging situations, one has to be calm, patient, and wise. But of course, you saw just now the case, when he saw that situation of the burning heart, he was very, very frustrated, very disappointed, very, very angry. He was not calm, isn't it? Then he start, like scolding God also, isn't it? So definitely the mind was not calm. He could not accept it, everything, right? So because of the great anger and disappointment, so you see the speech that comes out also not good, right? So maybe he was scolding God and things like that, blaming, right? In other words, when the mind state is filled with anger or disappointment or ill will, then the danger is you may speak terrible words, scold people, curse people, condemn people, harsh words, words that hurt people because you're very, very angry and you don't know enough data to really explain the happening or situation yet. So the correct way, the wise way will be patient, be calm, right? And then investigate so that you will know the actual conditions and causes, and then you can improve, isn't it? If not, many problems arise because of this. People lose control, right? So angry really because they think this person is the one that stole my jambu or what. But actually in the end, it was not him, it was another one. So very angry and he gave the flood a wallop, he just hit the flood. So the action also wrong already. So the Dhamma teachings are very important. We have to be calm, we have to be patient, right? And we must have the wisdom what to do. And that comes by studying the Dhamma. Even let us say that another person has done wrong, right? He has made a mistake, and because of that, you experience some difficulties or things like that. But if you are practicing the Dhamma well, you should not retaliate, like you want to post revenge. That is not, because you also will generate bad karma. You should know how to think and say that, well, everybody makes mistakes. I also sometimes make mistakes. You think like that. So now mind now, I will try to forgive him. Then you feel much better. You can sleep and eat peacefully. Otherwise, in your heart, you're burning with feelings of revenge and hate and anger. And then one day you do something, maybe you take a knife and go and stab the fella, and and you will be sentenced to maybe life imprisonment or death. Isn't it? So you can see here, very important Dhamma points like these three things. Do not let anger conquer you and commit wrong actions, speech and body. Right? So you can understand this. Maybe one more point, but I did not list down because I'm not very sure what's the cause of the fire. Right? But as I said just now, it was possible that he did not put out a small fire. Maybe the night, maybe he lit a candle, or maybe he was cooking a simple food, simple type of food. He gathered some branches or whatever to make a small fire, and there was still this small fire there. He did not put it, and then he went out to go and search for food. It could be like that. But anyway, whatever it is, another important lesson that we actually should learn is we must always be mindful. We must be always careful, heedful. We must not be reckless, careless, heedless. For many cases, accidents, all this happen because we are careless. We lack mindfulness, right? So this has to be trained in your Dhamma practice. I mean, for the adults, they know that they do meditation. But even young ones also, some are so mindful, they know what is happening. Otherwise, they are not mindful. They run here, they kick the stone, and then they hurt themselves or run up and down the staircase in the Sunday school, not careful, and then they fall, they hurt themselves, isn't it? So mindfulness is a very important quality. So today's lesson, based on the story, The Shipwreck, has important lessons that we can learn and we have discussed, right? So I hope that you can understand. Primary school, maybe standard 5, standard 6, they can understand, right? But anyway, different children are different, but the secondary should have no problems. So before we conclude with the 3 sadhus, right, I would like to thank all of you who are students, right, who are following this presentation, for your affinity for Dhamma, and also for your time, energy that you take to learn, not your school subjects, but to learn Dharma, important life lessons. Also, I would like to thank the teachers, parents, and grandparents for taking time and also putting in the effort to follow this presentation, which has exceeded, I think, half an hour, right? So to conclude, to all of you, let us say, and all of you will say together, sadhu la, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all be well, happy, and peaceful.